Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're going to have a look at the handicap analysis for this week, and I've only actually got 5 this week. Not a lot caught my eye, but I think the 5 that I've highlighted all have great chances in the races that I'm going to suggest if they run in them. So one of them isn't guaranteed. Well, none of them are guaranteed to run in these races, but I think they should do. But one of them may come a little bit too soon. So we'll start off with Koy Koy, who dropped £2 to 91. Now that means he's dropped from a 99 at the beginning of the year when he was running at Meydan down to 91 now. And it's interesting that 2 runs ago he ran at Ascot and he got really well supported. And he went off 9 to 1 for the Buckingham Palace Stakes. So 9 to 1 for a big race like that. Finished last of his group. Finished 23rd of 26 and came back in, and the connections said he hated the good to firm ground. Now, considering they said that, he was then allowed to take his chance again, running on that good to firm ground. Connections have suggested that they felt it wasn't riding as fast. However, he then ran a terrible race, finishing last. So maybe it was running that fast, and I kind of feel in that instance, that's where the handicapper and the BHA have got to work together and go, well, the fact that he was allowed to take his chance on ground that they blamed previously, we're not going to move him in the handicap. To not give him that, almost, we made the right decision running him on that ground. We got him dropped another couple of pound. For me, that's wrong. However, obviously, we're not the BHA, so we'll try and find loopholes and stuff like this, and hopefully this is one of those. I don't think he should have been dropped for that run on ground he clearly doesn't like then. With that in mind, dropping down to 91, I'd love to see him run at Epsom in this 7 furlong handicap on the 26th of August for horses rated 76 to 95. So rated 91 he would get in. And we would have to remember that he'd been to Epsom earlier this season here when he ran over further than a mile. He ran over a mile and a half a furlong. And he got beat in 6th place, but if you'd run it over a mile, he would have got closer. If you'd run it over 7, he would have got much closer. I think the trip caught him out that day. He went off the 9 to 2 favourite of 95, didn't stay, and it was a decent race. Too Tempting, Beshtani, Almabir were the front 3. It was a good race. So I think returning to Epsom for a race that actually suits 7 furlongs, and if there's a bit of rain and the ground is it only needs to be good. It doesn't even need to be like soft or heavy. Just good ground will be absolutely fine for him, I'm sure. He just doesn't want that good to firm ground, and he's definitely one you want to be keeping an eye out for when it does get a little bit softer. And as I said, if he goes to this race at Epsom on the 26th of August, I think he would run a huge race. The second horse I want to talk about is Alfred Boucher, who's been dropped £3 for his return, down to 96. Now, it's all about whether he retains his ability. 3 runs ago now, when he was second here, this was finishing second in an Ebor behind Trawlerman. Trawlerman that day was running off a mark of 101. He's now rated 118. So, I mean, Alfred Boucher completely bumped into one, and he ran that day off 100. So, straight away, off 96, he's got to be well handicapped. Then, factor in whatever he runs in next time probably isn't going to be the Ebor. I don't think they'll run him in the Ebor. I think if he'd had another run, maybe the Ebor might have been where we saw him next. However, because he hasn't had that run, I think they'll take the easier option, and this race here is where they could certainly go back. The Sky Bet Stayers handicap on the 21st of August. That said, that is only 8 days away, and considering he'd had 686 days off the track, that would be the risk. Do they want to come back so quickly for his second run? If it had been, as I said, his third, this was coming to be his third run, and he'd had 2 weeks and then another 2 weeks, I would have said I'd have been very keen on him. But I just wonder whether they give him a bit of time, and maybe even look at like the Cesarewitch rather than the Ebor and this Sky Bet Stayers. But he's definitely one to keep an eye out for, because if Ian is prepared to give him another try, he is well handicapped, and he could be very interesting if they do get him back out for another run. Moving on to the third horse, another one for Ian Williams actually, and this is Law of the Sea, who's dropped £3 to 85. Now, I thought it was quite a moderate run at Haydock. I think he needs the right jockey. I think he needs to be behind. I don't think he wants to go forward. I think if you can track, sit in 4th or 5th, that will be ideal. But he's dropping down to a really, really eye-catching handicap mark, down to 85 now. Got to remember, he finished 4th in a Chester Cup off 90, and he finished 3rd in a Chester Vase, the Chester Plate, of 88. He could run off 85, so he's £3 and £5 lower than those two good runs at Chester. Surely, you therefore go for the... I've loaded up the wrong one, let me just get there quickly. It's the 14th of September. Chester. Next 2 months. You can see how I do some of this now. Here it is. The 1 mile 7 furlong, 196 yards. Watergate Cup. That's got to be where he runs. Back at Chester. Off 95. I think he would take all of the beating personally. And I really hope to see Law of the Sea at Chester in September. It's just over a month from today. Moving on, 2 to go. Tacarib Bay has dropped £3 to 94 after finishing very disappointingly. He finished last at Ascot, over a mile. And interestingly, his Ascot form is somewhat indifferent. He's had a couple of good runs, but he's also had some really poor runs. And I just think that was another poor run. He is becoming very, very well handicapped, though. Got to remember, he's had a high of 106. And for a good few years, so between 2022, I'm just going to show you on this screen here. So between April 2022 here, he was rated 103 here, and then all the way up until this race here, he was rated 101. So he's hardly moved. He went up £5 in that, and then sat around that sort of mark. Handicap is now giving him chances. He's now dropped him. He went from 101 to 99 to 97, now down to 94. And I think this is now when we can really see Tacarib Bay going very, very close in a race that suits. Where suits? Goodwood. The race, this William Hill Handicap Stakes, 7 furlongs, decent prize money on the 25th of August. Has he been there before? Well, he actually came to Goodwood twice. He went to Goodwood when it was too soft. He finished 17th. And also back here, he finished 5th on the 27th of August 2022. Now, he was 5th off 106. He could return off 94. If he gets in off 94, which the year he ran off 106 he would have done, if he could get in off 94... What's that, £8 lower? No, that's £12 lower than when he was a not beaten that far 5th, beaten a length and a half. I mean, he's absolutely thrown in for this race. This one here, sorry. The William Hill Handicap over 7 furlongs. That's got to be where we see Tacarib Bay on the 25th of August. And finally, the last one is Harry 3. Now, I highlighted Harry 3 after he disappointed at Ascot in the Wokingham. Now, dropped £3 for that, and I was then looking out for him in a handicap. They didn't run him in a handicap last time. They stuck to quality races. They stuck him in a listed, and he disappointed. But that does mean he's dropped another £4. So since Haydock here, this run here, he was rated 110. He's now down to 97. He's got to go in a handicap next time and go somewhere where he's performed well. Well, where has he performed well? York. If we have a look, he won a feature handicap. How many runners is that? 19 runners, big handicap, and he won it. That's got to be where you go next. And there is a 6 furlong race. There's the Sky Bet Constantine handicap on the 24th of August, over 6 furlongs. Go back to York. Yeah, I think he would run a massive race there, back at a track that he clearly runs well at. And to be fair, when he won at York, he didn't just beat Lucky Man, he beat him comfortably. He beat him by 2.5 lengths, 2 3/4 lengths, sorry. So the rest of them were even further behind. Ryan Moore rode that day. That was off 97. He could run again off 97. And yeah, I think he would win a similar handicap by that far. So yeah, this is where you've got to see Harry 3 next time. The Skybet Constantine handicap. So a quick recap. Koy Koy just wants better, softer going. He's dropped £2 despite running on ground that they said he doesn't want. Where do you go? Go to Epsom. There's this 7 furlong handicap. He ran well there before off 95. He's dropped, as I said, to 91. I think he would run a huge race here if he gets to the ground. Alfred Boucher is an interesting one because he's well handicapped. It's whether he retains his ability and how quickly Ian wants to turn him back out. If he does want to go quick, I would prefer the Skybet Stayers handicap rather than the Ebor. And if he doesn't want to go as quick, the Cesarewitch is definitely a potential for Alfred Boucher. Law of the Sea has to go for the Watergate Cup now. Dropped down again. He's really nicely handicapped. He's £3 and £5 lower than when finishing 3rd and 4th in Chester Plates and Chester Cups. Tacarib Bay is getting well handicapped now. I'd love to see him back at Goodwood for a race that he finished 5th in a couple of years ago. Beaten a length and a half that day. That came off a £12 higher mark. This race at Goodwood on the 25th of August looks ideal. And finally, Harry 3 back into a handicap would be very key for me if he returns for this Skybet Constantine handicap over 6 furlongs at York, where he was a very impressive course and distance winner off this handicap mark. Surely he would run another big race.